Alright, hello everyone and welcome to episode 76 of our Blackburn Rovers FM17 career. So, what has happened since the last episode? Let's start things off by just taking a quick look at results. So, beat our under-18s 3-0, beat our under-23s 3-1, beat Aki Stanley 4-1, somehow managed to only draw against Kilmarnock from the Scottish Championship, despite dominating the game. That's quite a poor ratio in terms of shots on target, of course, though, but as you guys can see, pre-season really for us is all about helping players gain fitness. Beat Göztepe SK on our pre-season tour of Turkey 4-1, then Antalyaspor 3-0, and then Sanliurfashaspor. I think this is actually, I have no idea if that's how you pronounce it, so sorry if I just completely demolished my attempted pronunciation of Sanliurfashaspor Kulubu. But I do actually think that this is the team that once upon a time actually had Tugay as their manager. I might be wrong, but I can't be bothered looking it up right now. It just occurred to me now. And then we had a bit of a local friendly against Blackpool in the northwest, of course, and keeping it nice and local in Lancashire, where we beat them 4-0. Now, the name that's probably jumping out at you guys, based off of what you've seen so far, is this man right here, Gabriel Barbosa, and that kind of gives away one of our signings so far. So, Doric, you guys will be already aware about. He has finally joined the club, and he's currently now out on loan in Ligue 1, where he should be getting some all-important first-team football in a country like France, because he is, of course, Serbian, and we can't get him a work permit. Pedro Morales finally joins the club. Now, some of you guys might remember this lad. We were actually trying to sign him last January, but we weren't given the money to try and sign him. He's 19 years of age. 15 passing, 16 technique, 17 vision, 15 tackling as well. If he can improve his strength a little bit and maybe improve his marking, could very well become the deep-lying playmaker we need for the next few years to come. A lot of potential on this guy. Just wish he was slightly taller and slightly better in the air, but at 19 years old, he's only going to improve, and I think this guy's going to be an awesome addition to our team this season, particularly for the future as well. For anyone who's not actually seen the past few episodes, you might not be aware, but we actually sold Predrag Rajkovic to Monaco for £45 million, which is why we have quite a lot of money to spend. So that £45 million, on top of the £50 million we were given anyway to spend this summer, has left us with quite a chunk. Next up was Gabriel Barbosa, and I'm kind of hoping that once I can actually train Barbosa in that AMC role, this guy will become that proficient goal scorer that we need. Not that amazing in terms of playing in the air, in terms of heading home, but we don't really put too much of an emphasis on crossing the ball in the box in terms of where we kind of need a header of the ball, if that makes any sense. We play quite narrow, and most of our crosses are quite hit down low and hard so that someone can get the tap in and, you know, utilise the pace that our front three have. So I think Barbosa will be a very good addition to the squad. Attributes really all in the right areas. On a bit of money in terms of 97k a week, that's actually not that much in comparison to some of our other players, but it still has room to improve at 24, does Barbosa, not Garbosa. Obviously, I'm thinking Gabigol, because I think that's his nickname, Gabigol, something like that. Yeah, I think it's Gabigol. And yeah, for 15 million quid, when you consider that Inter Milan paid 23.5 million quid for him, I think we've got a pretty good deal. And talking about Inter Milan, we're actually trying to sign Matic off them. I kind of felt like Matic could have been... he's actually disappointed not to be able to join us. So actually, I'm going to make another inquiry. And you know what? Let's declare interest for him again. I know that Matic is 33 years old. Right, he's not getting any younger. But as far as I'm concerned, his attributes are still... He's basically perfect for the deep-lying playmaker role that we play in front of the back four, where we want someone who's big, strong, great in the air, particularly for the English leagues, and it's kind of why he's playing in the Italian leagues. But also, I think one of the main reasons why we threw the league the way we did last season is also kind of partly as a result of inexperience of certain players. So yes, Matic is 33, but I'm still going to try and sign him on that note. We actually came very close to signing him, but at 33, he wanted his contract improved, which kind of just seemed a bit like, meh, I'm not going to pay over 100k a week for Matic on a contract that's the length of 3 years. He says he wants to actually join us because he's disappointed he's not been allowed to join us. So we might as well at least try and go back in for him. And yeah, let's leave Inter Milan. And last but not least, I know I said that there was potential in terms of us maybe playing João Dinicio as our main goalkeeper for this season. But instead, I've actually opted to bring in, I think it's Wojciech Szczesny. Let's just call him Szczesny. You look at this guy's stats, his attributes. It actually came down to either Szczesny, or if I can actually... Let's see if we can find him. It came down to either Szczesny or this other goalkeeper. Here he is. So it came down to either a 30-year-old Victor Costa, who, as you guys can see, is quite a good player, versus Wojciech Szczesny. They both roughly wanted the same transfer fee. Victor Costa wanted roughly the same salary as well. Now, Victor Costa is a year younger than Szczesny, but when it came to choosing between the two, I felt like Szczesny was undoubtedly the no-brainer, simply because Szczesny's played in England before, he knows the language, whilst Victor Costa doesn't. And as well, I think some of these attributes are slightly better on Szczesny, like 15 kicking here, 18 one-on-ones. The only real area where I felt like Victor Costa had an advantage was leadership, and it kind of seemed like, well, he's not going to become my captain even with 20 leadership because he can't even speak the language, you know what I mean? So we have actually opted to bring in Szczesny. Szczesny's on half the money Rajkovic was on, and if you compare the two, if we can actually find Rajkovic, I think Szczesny's the better player overall. So I think we've done a really, really good coup here. Sold Rajkovic for 45 million, bought in Szczesny for 6 million, and halved his wages as well. And the thing about goalkeepers is they can keep going till they're the age of 36 before they start disintegrating, like a Buffon or so on. So Szczesny, yeah, he's 31, but there's no reason why he can't be our number one for years to come. So, in terms of players that have left us, Lenihan has left us on a free transfer. We'd obviously tried to get rid of him in the past and couldn't. Not that we couldn't, but he didn't want to leave, so we've kind of just let his contract expire. Mike Burnett has actually been picked up for a free by Bournemouth. Now, obviously, we brought this lad in for 1.3 million quid, got injured, never really fulfilled his potential, but I do think he might come back to haunt us in the Premier League someday. Bournemouth obviously think he needs to go back down to the Championship in order to continue his development. That's interesting, actually. Richie Smallwood's actually a player we've signed in real life, Blackburn in League One. He's now Rotherham captain. So yeah, Bynett joins Rotherham. Fabio has finally been let go of after his contract expired. Really good servant for the club. I think he probably accumulated easily over 100 appearances for the club, but unfortunately he's not getting any younger. His attributes are starting to disintegrate, and he was on quite high wages, like 30-40k a week for a bench player. Next up is Mohamed Toure. Obviously, we all know this guy. He's kind of the player that I want to play up front. We signed him for 250k from Africa Sports in the Ivory Coast. Key player? Nah, not as good as I thought. And we've loaned him out to Liège for quite a few seasons, and to be fair, he's been on fire. But it's about time he finally, at the age of 21, steps up to the big time. So, we've actually formed a partnership with the Royal Charleroi Sporting Club, who are now in the top flight of Belgium football. And that's great for us because it means that I think they could actually be in the Europa League. They are in the Europa League. And that's great for us because it means we now have a much better side to send regens to, like Mohamed Toure, to try and not only accumulate work permits but also play at a higher level and thus improve. So he only has 530 days left to actually gain the Belgium nationality, but I'm kind of hoping now that he's playing at a much higher level, he'll be guaranteed a lot more Ivorian caps. I think once he gets 2 more caps, we might actually be able to apply for a work permit for him. I've obviously been trying to apply for a work permit. They keep saying he doesn't have enough international caps, even though he's got 8 caps. So hopefully he can now continue to improve at Charleroi and get more Ivory Coastrian caps. I'm not actually quite sure when the next African Cup of Nations is, but it does seem like they're playing World Cup qualifiers. They've played quite a few already, so you know that's only positive for him. And hopefully next season, I mean, I know I've been saying this is going to be the final season of this save, but you never know. He'll be able to to finally secure his spot in the Blackburn Rovers starting lineup. Next up, Darko Doric, you've already seen. We brought him in, and he's going to be on loan at Nîmes Olympique in Ligue 1. Very good player, can improve in certain areas, but at the age of 18, he needs as much first-team football as he can get, and that's why he's been sent to France. Plus, he's Serbian, so he needs a work permit. And yeah, Krstanovic and Martinez have both been sent to Gimnastic de Tarragona. Recently been relegated to La Liga. To La Liga. Yeah, so to La Liga 1-2-3, which is like the championship version of Spain. I think it'll be a good level for him to play at. Krstanovic obviously played in La Liga for Deportivo last season, but didn't get any offers from the first division. So for that reason, he is going to be playing at a slightly lower division, but hopefully he'll be able to, him and Martinez, really both of them kind of come together, get a lot of game time under their belts and come back ready fighting for a starting spot in our team next season, if there is going to be a next season. Miguel Martinez last year spent his time at Hapoel Tel Aviv, which, isn't exactly the Spanish second division. So I think it's going to be really good for him to try and score goals in Spain. It'll give us a rough idea of whether or not he'll be ready for the Premier League as well. Steve Pursehouse, whoever the hell he is, leaves us. Darryl McCartney goes out on loan to Brighton in the Championship. A lot of potential, this lad, but he's running out of time to really show that he has what it takes to become a Premier League player. So this is the name of the game, really. Send him to a Championship squad that are pushing for promotion and see how they fare out. If they have a good season, they might develop really, really well. And if they don't, then to get rid. Stephen Owen's been sent to Crewe, who are currently in the Sky Bet Championship with Fernando Morientes as their manager. I didn't know that. That's actually quite interesting to see Morientes as manager of Crewe Alexandria. So good luck to Stephen Owens. I think he's good enough to be a backup Premier League centre-back for us, but given the sheer number of centre-backs we have at the moment, we just don't need him at the club, so we might as well go at this age and get more game time under his belt. And last but not least, John Friend, not really quite sure who this guy is, to be fair, good luck to him, has gone out on loan to York City. So in terms of transfers, that is it. If we look at the finances, as you guys can see, wage budget-wise, we're not really looking great because we are risking FFP at the moment. So we look at finances. The club are currently projected to fail Premier League FFP player wage rise regulations. So even though we currently have 65 million quid in terms of transfer budget, we have renewed quite a few contracts, and simply due to how quickly we've grown as a club, we are currently risking being rescinded by FFP next season. We've got Piako, who's now on 130,000. Douglas, who actually renewed his contract with us after we struggled to sign Matic. The issue is that the whole reason why we had a falling out last season was because he wanted a new contract. And despite signing a new contract and being relieved to have signed a new contract, he's still, for some reason, expecting to leave the club in the near future, and apparently still wants a new deal to reflect his ability, and feels like time is running out for me to sell him. And it seems like he's currently glitched out at the moment, and it's really frustrating to have a glitched out player with two negatives on 115k a week, to be brutally honest. And that's where I stand with that right now. In terms of sorting out financial fair play, it's looking very likely we might have to flog a few more players. I'm still not entirely sure who it will be, but I am going to have to look at why we're projected to fail Premier League FFP wage rise regulations off camera and try and sort that out, and obviously let you guys know towards the end of transfer season what exactly is going to happen with that. So, in terms of bringing in another centre-back, we came extremely, extremely close to actually signing a new centre-back, and that new centre-back was probably the centre-back I've been looking for an incredibly long time, and that centre-back goes by the name of Diego Llorente. So he was at PSG. They put him up for about 13 million quid, and I looked at him and thought, he's fast, He's got great mental attributes, because that's where I feel like our centre-backs are weak at the moment. Mental attributes in terms of composure, concentration, decision-making. In terms of technicality and physicality, they're pretty good at that, but you need intelligent players as well. And Diego Llorente, product of the Real Madrid Youth Academy, I believe, looked like the peach of a player we've needed for a while and could have bought for a bargain. Unfortunately, we went in with a bid, and it got leaked to the press. Man City went after him, and we actually offered him 130k a week. Because if I'd brought him in, I'd have been able to sell both Dumic and Bath to even out our books. And he's joined Man City for 80k a week instead on a rotation contract, which to me makes no sense given that I told him he'd be a key player for us. So, yeah, if you're new to this save and you're wondering why it's a bit weird, it's because we finished second in the Premier League last season, and we've been finishing above Man City for God knows how many seasons, which is incredibly strange, but I guess we have to deal with that. So in terms of looking to bring in a centre-back, we are considering Phil Jones at the moment, even though he's not getting any younger. We are considering Nastasic at the moment, given that Chelsea finished only a few spots above the relegation zone last season. So they're the two main centre-backs we're considering bringing in at the moment, but given FFP currently being in the red, that's obviously my main priority to try and balance out the books, and I am aware of it. It's really just a case of I just haven't had time to sort it out. So let's just take a look at it in detail. The club are set to fail, governing restrictions on the yearly player wage expenditure, the board spending to be right okay. So it seems like we're fine in terms of making a loss and making a profit, but we are just genuinely spending too much on wages, it seems. So yeah, that's not a problem. We'll be fine. We'll just have to like flog a player or two. In terms of who we could potentially flog, I'm really not entirely sure right now who that player we'd look to flog could potentially be. Really wish we'd managed to sell Douglas, because I'm really worried we're gonna be stuck in kind of like a weird situation with this guy now, but we'll deal with that when we have to, and we could very well actually see either Dumic or Danny Bath leave the club very, very soon. But that is going to be it for this episode. The next episode will be the Community Shield against Man United. As you guys can see, if for anyone who's not actually seen our fixture list yet, Man United, Chelsea, Man United. So if that ain't a difficult start to the season, I don't bloody know what is. Steve Clarke still is the Chelsea manager, despite what happened to him last season, so that's going to be very interesting. But until the next episode, can we get revenge against Man United for what happened in the Premier League last season? We were in a very similar situation, played them first thing last season, beat them 3-2 to win the UEFA Super Cup. Can we do it again for this season? Let's actually see who they've signed, if they sign anyone. They've actually not signed anyone. That's actually quite surprising, but you can guarantee that something will happen on transfer deadline day, which will be a massive signing for them. They signed Joe Hart. Since when have Man United had Joe Hart? Wow, I had no idea that Man United had Joe Hart. Talk about stockpiling players. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this video, guys. It's just obviously that same old episode we do after pre-season, just to run you guys past exactly what's really happening. The only other thing I maybe haven't mentioned is that we are slowly starting to expand our staff. So as you guys can see, we've actually brought in quite a few staff members, but I don't think you guys are really too bothered about that. So if you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is going to be such an important season for us. This is a season where, I'm saying it now, we're aiming to win the Premier League. Anything other than first won't be good enough. And what happens past that point, will the series end or not? I don't know. But until next time, thanks for watching.